Starting with the latest releases of Absol found within the Mega Evolution set. When Mega Evolution was first announced, fans were conspiring to figure out the best Pokemon cards within the set. However, it took a little while for fans to really appreciate just how good the Mega Absol EX would become, with it crushing various regionals and local tournaments and really establishing itself in the meta. This set had 3 cards added: the regular version created by CG Works, as well as the full art version, also by CG Works, and then the awesome special illustration rare designed by Mitsuhiro Arita. Absol would also get a currently exclusive Pokemon card found within the Mega Starter set, Mega Gengar EX. This is a card we will most likely eventually get in some collection box over in the West as well, but for now it is exclusive to Japan. This card was designed by Takumi Wada. It has been a pretty good generation for Absol within the TCG, as you would get a card as part of the Shrouded Fable expansion as well. This card features Absol within the depths of Area Zero, in the same place you find Terrapagos. And this card was designed by Rika, who, fun fact, had their first card created beat the 151 art rare version of Dragonair. Certainly a great way to establish yourself as a TCG artist. And finally, the last regular print of Absol we would get during the Scarlet and Violet era came from Paradox Rift, designed by Shinji Kanada. But that isn't it for Scarlet and Violet's special Absol cards, as there were 2 EX versions found within the Obsidian Flames expansion, the regular EX version and then the full art version as well, with the regular version being designed by Nisota Niso and the full art version was designed by Planeta Mochizuki. Which brings us back into Sword and Shield, where Absol would actually get a couple of cards, starting with Crown Zenith, where we got both a regular version of Absol, designed by Ghidorah, and then a Galarian Gallery version as well, designed by Yuta. This is one of the many Galarian Gallery cards that I feel a lot of people tend to overlook, just because of how big this set was. The regular version of this card would also appear within Astral Radiance as well. Absol would also get a card within the Fusion Strike expansion, being designed by Eri Yamaki. In Japan, this card was really popular as it also appeared in 2 Japanese promotional boxes, the Start Deck 100 and the Zacian and Zamazenta vs Eternatus special deck set, in both a holo and a non-holo version. Which brings us to the final card of the Sword and Shield era, the Champion's Path version of Absol, which appeared in a Grimmsnarl starter set in Japan. The card was actually quite popular in Japan once again. They clearly prefer Absol in the East than they do in the West. But let's move back into Sun and Moon, which is honestly a little bit depressing. Absol would not get any GX cards within this era of Pokemon cards. However, to make up for it, we would get some pretty cool designed and well-made regular cards, starting with Cosmic Eclipse, where we got this Absol designed by Mizue. There would also be an Absol card in the team-up set designed by Nagamiso. This also appeared in a promotional set in Japan called the Tag All-Stars set, which we never got in the West, which wraps up the Sun and Moon era with a card found in Guardians Rising, designed by Anasaki Dynamic. The Sun and Moon era was honestly pretty dire for Absol fans. Thankfully though, as we move into X and Y, the cards are going to get way better. Starting with the 2 EX versions of Absol found within the Mega Absol EX Premium Collection. This set featured 2 Absol cards, a regular EX version and then of course a Mega EX version of Absol. The EX version was designed by Planeta Mochizuki and the Mega version was designed by 5-Band Graphics. In Japan, these cards were actually a lot harder to get, as back in 2014 Japan was running an event known as the Battle Festa, where players all across the country came together to battle it out at various events, such as the Victory Battle Gym Mix, the 3-on-3, the Tag Battle and the Minigame Corner. By entering an event you would receive 1 play point. Winning a match would then grant you 2 points as well as 3 more if you went on a 3-win streak. In order to get your hands on these Absol cards, you would need a total of 12 points for the Mega Absol and then 12 more for the regular Absol EX, for a total of 24 points. This meant that getting the only release version of Mega Absol at the time was actually really hard before the release of Mega Evolution in Japan. And if you thought that Absol card was hard enough to receive, this one was equally challenging. This is the X and Y Black Star promo for Absol. In the West, we got this card at the end of the X and Y era in a 2-pack pin blister collection back in November of 2016. However, in Japan, this card was once again awarded to winners of the Pokemon Card Gym Karen Night Battle, held at various Pokemon card venues. The Japanese version of this card would feature the Pokemon Card Gym logo at the bottom of the artwork. This card was designed by Hasuno. Thankfully though, if the long and tedious grind to battle it out was too much for Japanese players, they would be able to pick up this Absol card from the Roaring Skies expansion, or as it is known in Japan, the Emerald Break set. This card was designed by Kagamaru Himeno, and that was it for X and Y. However, unlike previous videos, not for Black and White. Black and White was a soft reboot for the Pokemon franchise, as they honed the TCG in on newer Pokemon found within the Unova region. However, as more and more fans began to miss their favourite Pokemon, we began to see older Pokemon make a slow and steady steady return to the TCG, such as this Absol found in Plasma Freeze bearing the Team Plasma logo. I love the Team Plasma cards, and I kinda wish they'd made more of this style of card in the future. That was the only Absol card we received during Generation 5 at the TCG, which was honestly a really hard time for the TCG. I wish people looked back on Generation 5 with nostalgia and awe a little bit earlier than they did, as this was a pretty cool era for Pokemon, but following on from Diamond and Pearl just wouldn't be that easy. First we have the Heart Gold and Soul Silver Triumphant card, where we would get an Absol card created by Hideaki Hakozaki. There is something about Prime Pokemon cards that really just hits different. One day I will collect them all. The Prime Absol is not the only special card that we would get during the Diamond and Pearl era, as in Platinum Supreme Victors we would get the Galactic Absol. These cards feature an Absol that is owned by none other than the leader of Team Galactic himself, Cyrus. There was also a regular version designed by Yusuke Ishikawa, and then a Level X version also designed by Yusuke Ishikawa. I wish the Level X Pokemon existed a bit longer than they did. Which brings us back to the EX era of Pokemon cards, the first generation featuring Absol. Unlike previous videos we have made of every Pokemon card for every Pokemon, Absol was introduced in Ruby and Sapphire, meaning no e-reader cards and no original series cards. Thankfully though, Absol would get a lot of cards within Ruby and Sapphire, starting with the Absol EX found in EX Power Keepers, the first ever EX that Absol got, designed by Ryo Ueda. Absol would also get a card found within the EX Holon Phantom set, designed by Masakatsu Fukuda. This card is honestly really underrated. If anyone remembers the old Mystery Dungeon games, you will know that Absol was a huge part of them, which is primarily the reason that it became so popular as a Pokemon, with some of the next cards really paying homage to how intimidating Absol is, such as the card found in EX Legend Maker, designed by Midori Harada. And this next card has a pretty long story behind it. This is the Absol found in Team Magma vs Team Aqua. While we got it within a full set in the West, in Japan this card was released as part of a collaboration between Pokemon and 7-Eleven, which ran from June 25th, 2003 until stocks ran out. Basically, you would have to purchase a certain drink at any participating 7-Eleven, such as Coca-Cola, Sprite, Fanta, and more, in order to get one out of 21 possible cards within this collaboration. Meaning that once again, getting an Absol card in Japan was a real challenge. I'm also going to take a brief moment to discuss one of the only Japan exclusive Absols that we never got in the West. The movie commemoration versus pack Absol. This Farina's Absol was released to commemorate the Jirachi Wismaker movie, and actually had two different versions, one to go along with the movie, and one that was released as a full promo, with both being designed by Atsuko Nishida. Which brings us to our final and the first ever Absol card of the video, the EX Dragon Absol designed by Naoyo Kimura. Subscribe for more Pokemon card content.